Well, this is your Sabbath speaking here from the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we're going to be looking at Parshas KiTisah in the Holy Zohar, Sefer HaZohar. So here we go, and what's going to happen here is I'm going to read just a little bit into the Zohar, because actually this is I don't know, the print or however it happened was published that this Zohar really belongs someplace else, and it is someplace else as well. But they bring it in here, and exactly why, let's find out. Hashem and Moshe Lemar, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, KiTisah is Rosh B'nai Yisrael L'Pekudehem. So here we are in our Parsha. And it says, Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Acha, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Ozli, they were traveling, these three rabbis, Midvash and Tzipori. Now when I think about this, I say, I think to myself, Tveria is one of the hottest places in the world. I mean, it's really, really hot in the summertime. I mean, really, really hot. It's down low in the Kinneret. So these men are walking, and Sipori, I'm not sure where it is, but it's above. There was a mountain there. So anyway, so they're going along this way. And he says, Ad Hava Ozli, as they were going, so he saw Rabbi Elazar was coming to them. Rabbi Chia, and Rabbi Chia, he had Rabbi Chia with him. Rabbi Abba says to him, that's no question, that they have been joined together with the Shechina, that there is a Shechina, in other words, there's a Shechina there that we could plug in. So they waited for them. Until they came near them. So once they came to them and met, Rabbi Elazar made this statement. There's a piece of Tehillim that says like this: Eini Hashem el Tzadikim, the lies of Hashem are on the Tzadikim, v'Ozno el Shavasim, and his ears, so to speak, are listening to their cries. Hai Kra Kasha, this pasuk is a problem. And then it goes on, and the Matok says down below, this is, he writes this, I just want to bring it because I could translate it. It was something that I like the sound of. Is a Maimer Zeltim and the Parshas Pekudi Daf Reish Kaf He Sof Amud Aleph. So he says, look over there if you want to see this. Okay, well that's a different story. Now we're going to go on to the Zohar the way that it is, the Zohar that we actually have for today. And it says, Tal Chazi, Ha Okim Nabavaray, Hare Hamada Chazal, but besides Baba Betzia, and he gives a side reference. He les birchosech de la ela sharia, that the only way that a bracha can rest down below al midad isbene. So I translate it poorly. I'll read it again. This birchosech de la ela sharia al midad isbene. So the bracha from up above, a brachos cannot be placed or will not find a place to dwell on something that's counted. And he explains. So this is the reason why we had to go to the counting. So the upper bracha has to come for the right line. It comes from the flow of chesed, which is on the right. Every time you mention something, umanim are counted, this is a limitation, that's what gevura does. Hanosan is mideh v'kitzba, because that's what gives boundaries. So if you say like this, Yisrael heich izmenun, so how do you count the Jewish people? How did they count the Jewish people? But what it is, that each one of them gave an atonement. What they call it, a kufa. So something which is an atonement for his, he means it's really in place of his soul. But they use the word kofar here. As kol hashakalim ba'arono ba'argaz echad. So they had one chest that they put all of the money that represented the Jewish people, all gave something to represent their soul. That's really what I meant to say. Even there's a kapara for their souls. And then the count that they would count that. And so then they would gather them all together. Nobody counted them until they got to this place, and then they would count them. V'es ha'cheshbon lo also ad. He says they didn't actually count them up. Ashen is kabetz call hakesef until all of the money was counted. Shall the kofer nefesh, what we call the kofer nefesh, that is the shekel, the half shekel that everybody gave. V'alo acher kach lecheshbon, and then after it was all together, then they counted it. V'kadmisa v'kodim shemanach shkalim, but before they would actually count the shkalim, mevarchim l'chul Yisrael, they would bless the Jewish people. Hoy mevarchim es Yisrael kadei la'orer, and why? What does the blessing do? The blessing arouses as midas chesed. That's the way to rouse the midah chesed. He said, like if you bless someone, bless your grandchildren, bless your kids, do all this blessing. As midas chesed shedarko lahashpia v'lispashet b'li that is nature of chesed is to just pour out. Lahashpia, the pour, v'lispashet, and to spread, b'li misbar, b'li midah v'kitzvah. Kulabasam amanim hahu kufra v'achar kach choyim moinim as a kofer nefesh shehem shekalim, and then you count it. You move it into a completely different category. Since they're all together now, you can count it like that. It is the basar hadran and mevarchim lonely Yisrael after the count v'achar kach choyu choyzin mevarchim as Yisrael. So first of all, they made a blessing to the Jewish people because blessings bring down blessings. Ishtat kol Yisrael mizbarakon bekadmisa ubesofa nimzach Yisrael mizbarachim betachila besof, that he blesses them at the beginning and at the end. Ayedeh his order the chesed by the fact that the chesed is being aroused. V'lo salik b'hu mol sada v'lo ola b'chem negev. So he says v'lo salik b'hu nada, and then this negev and negev would not appear because doing things this way. So V'shol, and he asks, Mosana amai sala binyana, ma ola hanegev ayedecha minyan. So he says, what causes the negev, that is the plague, al yedei haminyan, by counting. V'amra begin the birchasech sharia b'minyana, and he said, well, the reason that we said is because the bracha doesn't count, doesn't shine on something that's counted. Ella the fisha ain't a bracha shora b'minyan, but it doesn't really count well with the minyan, with the monin, something that's counted. Ella adarabba al yedei shenimna ezadavar miyad. So when you count something, miyad mistalekas a bracha misham, the bracha leaves. Now he's saying like this, is that the bracha is when we think of the flow of the river, and the river is flowing right, left, center, is that we have to think that the bracha is on the right side. So that's why we begin everything. You see the halachos and so on and so forth. Everybody would like to do everything to the right. So he said, Misham, v'keven de istalek berchosa, v'keven shen istalek ha-bracha. So since the bracha left, sitra akra v'sharya alecha v'yachal nizka. Sitra Achra Shora Olov, the Sitra Achra then dwells on it. It comes and makes its home there. So he says, it comes and dwells there. The Yanek Maharoshem Shanisha Sham v'Yachol Lohazek. So he says, let me read this. Sitra Achra Sharia Alei v'Yachol Nazga. So he said, what happens is that when this leaves, when the bracha is no longer there, Hasitra Achar Shorol of the Shura often comes over there to feed off of Mehadorosham Shanisha Sham, from what is left over and that remains there, V'yachol Lahazek, and as a result of that it can hurt a person's soul. Begin Kach Notlin Kufer Pidyon, and that's the reason why the word kofer is used. Is begin kach notlin kufra pidyona, the chaim lokhin koifin nefesh pidyon, the salka alech minyana, the ha'alos v'lahaver es a minyan, to elevate and to move, to transpose es a minyan al shakalim and to shkalim, the limnos osam, and to count them below es a hanashim. and not the people themselves, but counting their kofar. So that's really the explanation, and it's been talked about. V'harei ha'amidu chazal v'anu lamdeinu osam. That's the Midvash Melech, so on and so forth. Now, just a little bit more about the next piece, and we're going to come down lower, see if we can see it better. I've seen it before. I learned this, last time I learned this was in the year 83. Today is the year 86, 57, 86. So he says like this, Lahave Maimer Abba. To understand the Maimer, let's nakdim bekitzer divrei Rizal. Let's go back and see what the Rizal says. He says B'simin Mabushar B'sefer Mabusharim, so he has it over there, the Mabusharim, which is the part of the Eitz Chaim. In Tosefes Devar, he says Ki Inyan HaMishkal. So the concept of a balance scale. Now the balance scale is very important. In the Idris, it's called the maskala. The maskala is their anpin, really. Their anpin with the 3 lines. The 3 lines we're always going to say are in the form of a balance scale. Sod hadas, and so the balance scale is a secret of das. Sheyesh bo daled osius has 4 letters of the shem yud ke vav ke. So he says, if you want to know, you like to look at something like this. He says, Remez the Dover, there's a reference to this, a hint to this. Ki Mishkal is a gematria 470. Im Daled Osios, if you put together with its letters, it comes to the gematria of Das, which is 474. Now he wants to say that the balance, the concept of the balance, and what is the technique or what is the rule that he could use that allows him to take the word the word Mishkal, which is 470, and add on its own letters, and therefore make a metaphor for Das. I don't know what the rule is for that. Hanechlok, but he does it, and he said it. Hanechlokos b'mishkal b'zecha b'ofen, and these letters, or these numbers, I'm not sure what he means, is Das, is divided onto the balance scale in this way. The base of Hayin, I guess he's talking about the Yud Ke Vav Ke, Hayin base kapos, a mishkal that represents the 2 kapos, that's the cups that hold what's going to be balanced. The Os Vav is a Lashon HaMishkal, so that's actually the middle line that balances the 2. V'os Yud, hu Evan. Then you take the letter Yud, this is going through the Yud K Vav K, and that's the stone, Hamishkalos, Ve'in Yanuhu, and the idea is like that. Ki litzorach yichud chub. If for the purposes and for all the shefa that we want to be able to receive, comes from a yichud of Chachman Bina. So he said, Ki tzorach yichud chub, Olus Tipos Mom, and how does this work? We request it. Our request by learning Torah and by seeking God, and by understanding of God's words, we're actually bringing what's called Mayim Nukvin. We're bringing our prayers from the bottom to the top. Who's going to give you the blessing? It's not the Kohen that gives you the blessing. It's Hashem that gives you the blessing, and it goes through the Kohen. That's just an interface. He's a guide to how you could get blessings. So he said, Tipos Mam, Mebina B'tzad Asmol is from Bina, which is on the left line. Shaladash Yesh Sham He Gavuros, it has He Gavuros. So all of that is on the left side. There are 5 Gavuros. V'yordos Tipos Mad, so what happens is when you push that down, because of the heavy weight on it, it causes an opposite reaction. And to come downing to meet it, to balance it, are tipos of Mayim Duchrin. That's called Mad, which means the blessing coming from up above, down below. So you have 2 movements. You have the Man is from the bottom to the top, and the Mad, the Mayim Duchrin, male waters, are from the top to the bottom. So he said Mad. Me Chochma B'tzad HaYamonis. So this comes on the right side. You have Chochma. Shal Hadas, Shei Sham He Chosadim, there's 5 Chosadim. So you have something going up, that's the Man, and it's tilting the balance scale, and to match it because it's going down. Because what I think for me, what it means is to reach the depth of your need, to really look at yourself enough to know what you want Hashem to bless you with. What's really important? Well, what is really important is doing what Hashem wants you to do, and that's what you're doing. You just have to connect to that. So he says, Hadashiv. So here we are, that one thing as it going down, you're causing a stirring, an arousal up above. The more, so I'll say like this, the more deeply you get in touch with your chesronis and the things that you're missing in order to become a mensch, a really good person, those are the things you need to get from Hashem. And when you realize that, he will send you down mad. That's what best way I can say it. V'sham shoklos tipas amad, so there and now their meeting place. They balance out the drop of mad, which is coming as a result of your prayer or your learning. Shehi os yud chochma. As tipas aman, the tipa of man, they come into a balance situation where it's like it's sort of like a seesaw. The one goes out, well, goes down. It forces the other one to go way up. So that's the concept of moving it up. But then once it gets to the top, then it starts to come back down because it has the heichasadim that are added onto it from the top. So he says the Haman that comes from Bina shalo tishko yoser mimeno, and so that it should be balanced out. It should not weigh more than itself. Kilefi erech mishkal hamad. So according to the value of the weight of the mad that's coming down, kach ola tipas aman kenegda. Now this is really a deeper idea as I'm thinking about it. He's talking about the union of ZOHAR v'nuk, because the mad is the male, he comes from the top, he brings it down. The female is at the bottom, and she's coming up. For a yichud to take place, you need to balance them right in the middle. So that's the balance, the idea of what they call the maskala, which is the word meshkal. So like that. V'oz vav hi etzem hadas. So the letter vav, it is the essence of das. Hakolo as hachug, which has within it the heichosadim and the hegavuros, sheba, that are in it, shehem sod base kapos, which is going back, and the secret of the two cups that hold the things we're balancing. So it is that balance that we're looking for. Very interesting. This is your Saba speaking from the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.